Hey, what's up, everyone? My name's Lionel. I'm your host for LT Productions, and you are watching I Watch You Watch. We are covering Love and Marriage Huntsville. This is season 8, episode 11, according to OWN. I do appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Please like this video. Also, subscribe to my channel if you are new to my channel, and you can leave your comments below. All right, so let's get into this episode. Okay, so I don't know if I want to give a disclaimer, but I'm just letting y'all know right now. First and foremost, many of y'all owe Latricia an apology. And I could really gripe as to how I feel about how you guys have treated Latricia pre when the show started airing for the season. Y'all getting half information, and y'all went off that and made your speculations. Y'all want I could say so much. Y'all made up lies, y'all made up assumptions. You got this little bit and then you made an assumption and said this. It's not saying that Latricia is not at fault at something. However, y'all put all that blame. Y'all wanted the husband to come to say his piece because y'all didn't believe nothing that Trisha was saying. And granted, Trisha wasn't making the most sense, or she wasn't clear. However, I think that she's new to reality, and I think that she needed time to open up. Kingdom Reign Entertainment decided to work with her to get her to open up. I think the first time I really saw her really get expressive was with Martell. I don't know how close her and Sonny are. You would have thought she would have been more closer, but those are more of the earlier episodes of when she first started. So maybe she just still wasn't comfortable even with her friend. From that point of her having contact with Martell, she was starting to get better. She's at Nell's birthday party. She started opening up more. Y'all wasn't going to give her a chance. Like, oh, she's weird. And y'all have given so many other clowns. And a lot of the clowns that you gave are people that are just so rah-rah up front, but doing too much, but you're still willing to give them a chance. And I know where all that stems from. And when I call it out, y'all gonna deny it. I mean, a lot of y'all want the show over with, but y'all really have nothing else to do once the show is over. And it's like, y'all have, let me stop griping, because I've been in this a good 3 minutes, but no, y'all owe Trisha an apology. All right, so let's get into the episode for real this time. We start off with the Fletchers again, and I didn't know that this was going to be continued like that. So Nell basically is against therapy for her. Y'all need the therapy, blah, 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 blah. And they're all saying, well, I think we all need it, and we want to be heard, and we want you to be heard at a different level. We're getting the feelings that Nell is being thrown to the fire. She doesn't feel the backup. She doesn't feel the love. And it's just giving a lot of pushback. One of the daughters speak up, I think it was Kayla or whatever. And Nell was able to listen to her and said, look, I'm going to think about it. So she still wasn't all the way in, but quite stubborn. I know a lot of y'all got a lot of questions, but I think that Nell needs a lot of counseling. And it's not a bad thing. I think because of her life and how she's had to live, she's got this tough exterior that is not allowing her to really be open to a lot. I believe that she's a very loving person, and I think that she's built herself a certain way in order to move on in life. And I would really love to get to know more about Nell. I hope she does do some individual therapy, because there's obviously a lot there. And I don't hate Nell in the slightest. Some of y'all do, because I won't even go there. I won't even go there. But we know why you hate certain people on this cast. But look, y'all just got to really still consider the older generation. Mel gets into it a little bit later. They haven't been open about it. It hasn't been something that they think that they need. They just move on with life while you're imploding on the inside and damaging other people on the outside. And I think it all stems from slavery. And I'll get into that in just a few more minutes. So, we move on. we get the grand entrance or grand introduction of Latricia's husband, Marquez. He goes to black, and he's going to meet with Marcel. And the first thought, I'm like, well, why are they meeting with Marcel? We find out that back in the day when Marcel was the manager of a movie theater, that is common knowledge. You can go look at his LinkedIn profile and you'll see it there. Before he became a construction person, he was a manager there. Now he's got millions. Now he's got millions. But anyways, he was working there, and Marquez was also working there too. Also, so anyways, they have a connection, and I was looking like, okay, so y'all really know each other, okay? Because it's so weird. All of a sudden, now the core six, have to introduce these characters, and you can tell that they don't really have any type of connection with each other. So it's like, what gives, and why are y'all on my screen this way? But anyways, I guess they needed a familiar person to even introduce him to start talking. So Marquez comes in, and he talks a little bit about the last time he was in Huntsville. He was at Black, and he got into a physical fight with Ken. And Marcel is not clueless. He heard about it. He was not there, but he did not realize it was Marquez that did all this. Marquez and Ken have a lot of beef. We find out as Marquez starts talking that he has a lot of resentment towards Ken because Ken has stepped up to be the father within the home with his children. What happened, as we find out, is Marquez left the home. We can back up a little bit more. Marquez and Latricia, they got married at 18. She got pregnant, and of course, the traditional thing is going to get married. And they did that, and eventually fell apart, grew apart, whatever you want to call it. He left the home. And I guess for a while he stayed in Huntsville, and around the time that COVID came around, he fled even further and moved to Atlanta, not having much contact with his children. At that point, after he left, Ken came, moved in. We know that they've been moved in together for about 2 years. Ken is there for the children. He's there for school activities. He's there picking them up. He's there taking them to trips, all that good stuff. And Marquez can't handle that. He's having a difficult time with that. He's blaming it as Ken is being offensive to him and is in his way of being a dad. And Marcel is giving sound advice. As I've said before, there's a love-hate relationship with Marcel. Sometimes he makes sense. Sometimes he's funny. And other times he's just an asshole. That don't make no sense. And that's basically all of the Scott men. Some make less sense. But the one thing that they're going to make you try to think is that they are just so smart. And because they give you a whole soliloquy and monologue that they're really smart and they're really saying something mind-blowing. Not at all. But anyways, during this whole conversation, he's like, well, you left. Like, Marquez is in this place of kind of sort of taking responsibility but not accountability. I'll just say he acknowledges some things and some things a little bit. Like, you need some counseling, in my opinion, because it's like, you think that you can just leave and then your spot is open. Life is still going on. Life is lifing. With you here in town or not. Like, it sounds like you are more insecure of Ken stepping up than you are about and not taking responsibility that I left. You're mad that your daughter now, well, we'll get into that later on. I'm gonna leave a little bit more when he talks to Trisha. But Marcel was making sense. I give him some credit for it, but sir, you are not Father of the Year, Marcel Scott. You are about to unalive your child because you're not even aware of the allergies that your son has. Mama Letitia has to run the house. You don't even know how to watch your children. Now, they are a lot older, and I know that they can take care of themselves. You probably would not mind watching them now. Sir, no. How you treat your mom, because even there's been times where MJ, just speaking his mind, not trying to disrespect his daddy, was like, wait a minute, that's not right at how you're treating mom. So, Marcel, you get some points. You don't get... We're not putting you on a magazine cover as Father of the Year. Let's just say that much. But you're speaking a lot of truths. You're hitting him hard. And Marquez don't even know how to answer some of the questions or reply to some of the things that you said. You left. You left. And he also, Marcel says something, I think you need to tell Ken thank you. Marquez says that he has a problem. He thinks, but there's no way he can confirm or deny that anything was happening with Latricia or Ken before he left the home. They were buddies. She got into something else as far as weight training. He saw some messages on IG that he thought was questionable. But he feels like something was happening between them, and then he waited until I left, and he swooped on in and got my children. It's no excuse, sir, because you act like he thinks that because of how the children feel about him now, that Latricia and him have brainwashed them against him. No. Someone who's active in their lives, someone who has constant communication with, someone that's feeling the love is there and has filled the gap of where you dropped the ball at. And those are some of the truths that Marcel was given. All right, so we're going to move on from there because I don't want to keep talking about that. The Fletchers. And we got Dr. Francis back. Some of y'all love Dr. Francis. I'm like, hey, cool. Dr. Francis is about to arrive. We have, no, I got to back up again. Mel and Mel, they have a scene together. And she feels a certain type of way. Nell comes by Mel's home, and she just says, hey, I feel a certain type of way. I feel like my children and Fletcher have turned against me, and they want me to go with it. And Mel said it in a very nice, friendly way, and kind of like the Mel way that she does it. I don't think that there's anything wrong with what they were saying. Counseling and therapy could really benefit, just to have someone to talk through and all that stuff. Nell's like, I don't need anyone to talk to. I just need them to get out my pockets. Mel said, well, your generation is not really that open to it. My generation is. Having someone in your life, a life coach or a counselor or something, can help you in seeing something from another perspective. That's kind of the gist of it, and maybe some other ways to help you deal with what you deal with. I do think that Nell is going through a whole lot more. Financially stuff, I think is really important, but I do also think that there is something more weighing on her. Because at this point, you're like, Fletcher, you see me like this, you see me. It's like almost she's sinking under something, and I think that there's something under the surface of even having to take care of her children that is weighing on her. I don't think we're going to get the answer. Hopefully we do at some point, but there's more to this, as I was saying before. So at this point, Nell's like, about the therapy session, we'll see, and we'll just do it. One thing that is interesting is that Nell, who is a counselor, does not want to be counseled. I said, oh, that's interesting. But because you don't think that you have a problem, which is odd, because it's like when a counselor don't think that they need counseling at all, that's kind of scary. Because do I really want any counseling from you? And I'm saying this from a general standpoint, even though I'm talking about Nell in this whole situation, because it's like, well, if you think that you're perfect, why do I want something from you? How are you going to teach me anything? It's a little bit interesting, especially when others are saying that, hey, I think you could benefit from a little counseling, something. All right, so the day of the therapy session, we're at the Fletcher's home. Everyone is there except for Lexi. Where's Lexi? Fletcher's. I'm sure she's not speaking or whatever. It might have been great to acknowledge her. Now anybody can say whatever and manipulate the situation and say whatever. But Lexi should have been there too. And it kind of feeds into the narrative at how withdrawn she's, or has never really felt like being a part of the family. Not saying it's your fault, not saying it's all Lexi's fault. It just seems like, at least if you acknowledge, hey, I contacted Lexi, I didn't get no answer, or she said no. Something to make it at least appear that you guys are making the best foot forward. So, Nell and Fletcher. Nell is going off because she feels like Fletcher is not on her side. And I don't need the counseling, they need the counseling. We're hearing all that. Children are in the front room, they're in the kitchen. Dr. Francis comes over. Some of the children start to speak, specifically Lance. They know in regards to whom they can go to and can't go to. Why they go to the father? Because Chris, he will listen. She will not. She will blow up. Nell's like, well, when I tell you something already, you don't want to hear my mouth because I already told you what was going to happen. And I'm right. Ain't I? And they're like, yeah. At the same point, that sometimes I just need you to listen. Like you don't want from me what your dad won't give to you, which is all the good, bad, and the ugly. And that's not cool. And then Lance is still trying to talk and say, I just need a voice. I need an outlet. I need someone to listen. Say what you need to say later, but I need to be validated. Because being dismissed is one of the hardest things that I've had to face. And I've been dismissed so many times. Like you have no voice, you're trapped. And you start making your own decisions and you just cut yourself off from people. When you want to be vulnerable with people, when you want to feel valued by your opinion, valued by what you have to say, you just withdraw within yourself. I think Kayla ended up saying, when I talk to you, it's just like, I'm just dead. The communication is dead. Dr. Francis intervened and said, not so much the communication is dead, something inside of you is dead. And I know what he meant by that. You feel like you're in a jail cell. And you want to feel like they care. It's a great task for someone to pay something for you, to be there for you in need. From a monetary standpoint, from an emotional intelligence standpoint, that is missing from a lot of homes. And I'll even pinpoint it to the Black community because we've been taught since slavery to just kind of move on with life. We didn't get to express ourselves. We were beat into submission. You couldn't speak out about this. You couldn't say how angry you were, not for real. You had to grin it and bear it. And a lot of homes since post-slavery have been keeping that same mechanism of white patriarchy. Patriarchy, that's what it is. Where we just grin it and bear it. And on the flip side, we're prideful. Everything's fine. Don't talk about me. We're fine. How dare you? All that stuff happens in the Black home a lot. There's a lot of this trying to keep up with the Joneses. Don't want to be vulnerable. Don't want to say, I ain't really got it like that. I want to get there. I don't even know how to ask for help. A lot of that goes on. A lot of people suffer. A lot of Black households suffer because of pride that we have mantled ourselves with and thinking it is a positive pride. And it's not. It's not, because you self-destruct and you end up looking foolish. So, of course, Nell did express that she does not feel like she got the support from Chris in this whole situation. Like, how Nell was saying it, it was like he's saying that Chris is just weak. How I was getting it. Now, y'all let me know how y'all feel about that. Because I was like, ooh. It was slight cringe. Like, he's weak. Like, what the crap? No, Chris is there. Chris was even there to identify that Chris Jr. has depression. I'm not saying Nell couldn't, but Nell is from this place of tough love. And the tough love is not working. I think the one thing they did say that they agree on is that the tough love is not working in the way that it's going. And y'all need to come up with a new strategy. Don't be resentful for each other because one seems to be more greater or have strengths in one area and I'm weak in another area. Y'all gotta work together as a unit and see what your strengths are and what your weaknesses are and find a way to not bash each other in any way or think that the other person is doing great because you see how the children are receiving them. Obviously, they do come to Chris a lot more because they're just not going to be shut off. And it's good to have that. I didn't have that at all. Not right now. I'm gonna make a video eventually, but I didn't have that. I didn't have anyone to go to say how I felt and all that stuff. But I'm glad that they at least have that. Dr. Francis had Nell get up and say 1 or 2 sentences of love towards all the children. I think the most heartfelt one is that she says, I hear you, blah, 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 da, 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 and I want you to get out of your funk. You're greater and better than this. I'm paraphrasing and all that. They ended off on, I guess, a good positive note. Obviously, they only had enough time for a little bit for the Fletchers, but because it seemed like, how did we get here already, where she's giving positive feedback? But we'll see how things go. But Lexi should have been there or somehow been acknowledged. The next part is Trisha and Marquez. They meet. We finally see some meeting there. They go back and forth on some things. Marquez just feels a certain way about this Ken situation. He also talks about how he felt like he was waiting for his chance to get in there. Muscles, Mr. Muscles. And they talk about all of the DMing beforehand. Like, we've been together since high school. You don't have no homeboys, blah, 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 blah. What you fail to realize is that you were losing your wife well before you left the home. And they talk a little bit about how he didn't know how to comfort or be there for Trisha when her parents passed and her sister passed. I guess she was going through tough difficulties. I guess her sister wasn't really in the place to accept to get a heart transplant and all this good stuff. And he withdrew himself. And then she withdrew herself. He says that, I feel a certain way about Ken coming in and taking over my responsibilities. And again, Trisha's like, well, you're gone. And what he's upset is that his daughter calls Ken his father. And she was like, well, I don't think she does that. Well, whatever. I would really like to know why he's doing that. He's trying to put it off on that they have made this girl now say father and all this good stuff and to Ken and not to him. It's like, well, he is there for her. I guess when he called the school and he said some presentation, like, she says that her father is some trucker, and that's what Ken does also, besides like bodybuilding. And Trisha was like, you need to have a conversation alone with your daughter to find out why she says what she says. About whom? About Ken. It's not us. Of course, concerning the whole stuff pre-leaving the house with Ken, she's in a confessional like, we've been through this so many times. He knows exactly what was going on, and it's not what he's trying to paint the picture to be. So I'm just letting y'all know that I am 100% on Trisha's side. Not saying I can't call out anything about Trisha, but yeah, I believe that many of y'all have been totally wrong about this woman, and you put something on her, and I think it has to somewhat deal with, because she has a connection to Martell, you think that she is a whore. Let that sink in. And y'all judge people like old church mothers. And I'm saying it with a smile, because y'all know I'm saying it right. Y'all judge people, and then y'all want to use God and all this good. No, let's stop it. Y'all some church people that y'all try to talk against and say, oh, you can't stand church people, but you're just like them. He says that I want a one-on-one with Ken, something where I can say what I need to say and Ken can say what he wants to say. No interruptions. And also they talk about finally divorcing. Now, I could have sworn that they weren't even legally separated, but I think between Kim and Marceau's conversation, they were legally separated. I think he said that, or he said that with Trisha. I can't remember which one. But now they're going to get a divorce. And he says it's going to cost $400. And then he asks Trisha, you want to go half on it? Now, Trisha in her confession was like, I don't know, I can't understand. He really pissing me off trying to ask me to go half in on it. That's the only weird part that's troubling me, Trisha. If you want the divorce, do what you need to do to get the divorce. And that's that. That's all I do have. I think I rambled on a lot. I do apologize. Tell me how you feel about this episode. I love the longer episodes or whatever, but I'm on Trisha's side. That's all I got to say. You guys have heard from the father. If you come away from this twisting this up, that's on y'all. But that's all I needed to hear was his side, and he is really an 8-ish daddy. That's all he is. But I appreciate everyone for coming to my channel. Again, leave your comments below. Like this video, please. Thank you for supporting. And also subscribe if you're not a subscriber. Until the next video, peace.